But good evening, everyone. For those who have joined us already, um, we're going to be talking about how this Qatar party will be providing adequate electricity for our country in order for us to be able to implement um, the ability to generate, um, transmit, and distribute as much as 100,000 megawatts of electricity so that we can be in a position to be able to manufacture and produce um, all of the things that we need ourselves, and then go on to industrialize Nigeria, which of course will enable us to be able to provide lots of jobs. So that's what we're going to be talking about this evening, and we look forward to your participation as well. So, before we go ahead, we would just like to generally talk about what the situation of electricity is in Nigeria now. Um, so, um, before we get people in, Yemi, have you got, can you inform us about what the your experience is in your state as regards the kind of service you get in terms of electricity supply? How often do you get it? And when you get it, is it any reliable at all? And what do you how do you think it's affecting your state, um,
Okay.
people in general? Can you maybe help touch on that very quickly, just to
Okay.
so that we can have an idea what it
Okay.
is like in each state of the federation?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening once again. You are all welcome to today's meeting. Um, as we're going to be discussing about the how we before I run through the question that was, please, if you have not followed any of the leaders here, so just try and follow them so that we can easily add you up to any event of the group. Now, the the electricity situation in Nigeria, as a case study of, I presently stays in Ekiti State. So we use Bini Electricity Distributing Company. You know, some other places we have Abuja Electricity Distribution Company. We have Kano and several locations. So the the story is nothing to write home about. Is pretty bad. In like particularly where I stay, I could said for like a week we may have just once. You know, we all relied more on generating sets to be able to, and some other recently we are now moving on to solar powered means of generation. So the issue of electricity is very bad, and coupled with the fact that the prepaid meters were not properly distributed. So since we are using it's just the system is, if it is a prepaid meter, one could know that the power consumption is based on usage. So since it's an estimated billing, so even you, if there is light, if there is no light, you still have to pay. So you pay for the services they render, which they are in actual fact was not rendered. So the situation is as bad as that. So, and I know the only place, though when I was in Abuja, the situation was a little better because of the usage of prepaid meter. So because at least you have to buy recharge card. When you buy, you pay for your bill, you buy a card. So if there is no light, there is no way they are going to make money. But in this estimated billing system they are using, so it has really made them not to, be up to their responsibility in actually, in giving power quite often. So I think the situation is really bad. Yeah. All right, sir. So I think if some other person, if you have any experience in your own location too, we let's have it too. But as far as I'm concerned here, sometimes we, not that we don't have the transformer or anything is faulty, just like that we're not having the the Benin electricity distribution company will not supply us with light. So it's quite a bad situation. So without you having a gen or a solar panel, so there will be a very bad situation for you, and that is not good for business also. So those are the situations we find ourselves in this country, and I believe we have all it takes to generate electricity, but our people are not sincere in the distribution. So, that's the situation we find ourselves today. Thank you, sir. Sir, are you still there? Hello? Yeah.
I'm here, Yemi. Thank you very much. Just trying to get back to the room while I was trying to ping people. Thank you very much. Um, now, John, do you have any experience to share with us about the level of
Yeah,
situation?
good evening, everybody. All protocols observed. Uh, Based on the light issue, though, just as Mr. Yemi rightly said, when he was in Abuja, it was a little better compared to other parts of the country. So, like where I stayed in Abuja, though I'm not using prepaid meter, but I'm benefiting from those using the prepaid meter. I'm using a kind of let's say just opposite where I'm staying. So it's an estate there, and that is where they tap the light to our environment. So if that estate did not get light, so we are definitely not going to get the light. And using the meter, if there's no light, the NEPA or the electricity distribution board are not going to have their money. They are not going to generate funds. So they have to supply light. So and that is where we tap in the advantage. So, but in terms of light, right now as I'm talking, we are in darkness. There's no light. In fact, throughout today, the light will come and it will go. That's not good. So the issue of light in Abuja as the capital of Nigeria is a kind of case of study because it's not getting better, it's getting worse day by day. And based on the information reaching me, that by December there might be increment of electricity bill. So it's just getting tougher. It's not getting easy. So I believe if there is any solution, it's going to save a lot. Going to save a lot because even with the prepaid billing, a lot of things are going on that even the NEPA, that is the staffs of the AEDC of Abuja, will advise us that we should not even go for prepaid meters because they are manipulating it. They tax you higher than what you are consuming. We don't know how they used to manipulate it. So honestly, light is an issue in Abuja. And if a whole Abuja, which is the capital of Nigeria, is facing such issue, I wonder other states, other localities, and all these undeveloped areas. I wonder what they should be facing, because this is where the president lives. But we encounter difficulty in terms of electricity. So light in Nigeria as a country is another chapter, which is negative. No good story to write about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Brother John. Now, for those of you who follow us in Clubhouse, I would like to request that you help ping your followers so we can get them to come and listen to our plans for Nigeria and how we intend to help with the provision of electricity. I mean, as we all know, the situation is really bad in Nigeria. As you've just heard from our fellow Nigerians. Um, but the really bad thing about it is it doesn't look like things will get better in the nearest future, and that's really the most concerned aspect of it. Because it's one thing when things are not good, but people have hope that things will get better in the nearest future or probably in a few years' time. But the way things are now, Nigeria um, has a maximum of something in the region of 5,000 megawatts that is actually claimed by the government to be what is being transmitted and distributed. Now, whether to believe that or not, yeah, that's really not something that I found confident to believe. Now, if we take a situation where in 2001, Nigeria was generating around about 5,600 megawatts, right? And then they were able to only um, transmit and distribute about 1,750 megawatts, right? And then 20 years after that, our government's claiming to generate in the region of 8,000 megawatts. Sometimes they claim 12,000, sometimes you read 13,000. So the situation is very confusing. Uh, so if they're generating as much as 13,000, the question would then be how much are they actually distributing or transmitting? Now, if you listen to a lot of people, you don't get the idea that they are distributing anything more than at least 3 to 4,000 on a daily basis. Of course, we all know that there are times when, yeah, they just don't distribute anything close to that at all. No, so it's a very, very difficult situation as to what to believe and not what to believe. Now, we know that if a country with a population of over 200 million people uh, are pretty much scraping off intermittent supply of electricity in the region of 3 to 4,000, then nothing will get done. So this has been the most important reason why people have not been motivated to develop themselves, despite the fact that the government is not doing it anyway. But when there is no good supply of electricity, you just don't get to get up and go to actually put in the extra effort to achieve anything. Because I can understand a lot of people will start something and then boom, electricity is gone. I remember those days, up NEPA, down NEPA. It almost became a song. So it has been kind of a bone in the throat of our development, something that's been pulling us back for years. And it's a shame that we're still struggling with it. Um, so something has to be done about it. And that's why we understand that the most important thing that will help us to industrialize, to create millions of jobs in different industries will be to first of all concentrate on provision of adequate electricity that will help us in going forward. Yeah. So if I may ask you guys here, I know there are guys from Kogi State, from Abuja, are there people here who comes from any state that has been experiencing no electricity at all, say in the last few months, right, because of the insecurity in the country, and also because there have been quite often you hear about, the transformer somewhere is just blown up, it was stolen, it was misbehaving for some sort of reasons. Can anyone share with me if there's been like total blackout for anything more than 3 days in a row? Just so we
Good
know that.
evening. Good evening.
Good
Can
evening.
you hear me?
Please go
All right.
ahead.
My name is Tunde. I'm talking from Oyo State. Actually, I have stayed in a community before in Oyo State, in Ibadan. The place is called Fashade. And there are cases of days where we go out of power for 20 to 25 days. Currently, as I speak, I have moved from that community, but I still stay nearby. In that community, they've not had power for over 3 weeks. It happens like that constantly. And it's a situation of, a fault on their line, on their transformer, because the community is on the extreme end of Ibadan. So when there's a fault like that, it is easy to isolate them and trace the fault. So when they isolate them, they don't pay mind to them anymore, since they can trace the fault beyond them. It happens like that when the community is way, as in the extreme end of the entire community. You can isolate them and start tracing the fault when the fault is on their side. So it happens like that. The place is called Fashade, in Oyo State, in Ibadan. So I lived there last year between July, December, thereabout. So there are days we go without power for 25 days, 30 days. And it's a constant and normal like that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you still there?
Thank you. Thank you very much. That's really bad.
Very bad.
That's very, very bad. I'm very sorry to hear that. I mean, there's been all sorts of experience that people are going through. Thank you very much, today. Anyone else willing to share their experience with us? Okay, I can see we have Dr. Mo here. Hello, Dr. Mo. I should then I would have expected that you are
Okay.
brought to the top. Dr. Mo.
Yeah, Dr. Mo is with us.
Okay, like I
Okay,
was
I'll
saying,
just like to say something about the issue of
now
electricity.
so that's
Yeah,
the situation we're in. Is there anything you would like to say
yes,
about these, brother Yemi? Are
yes,
things are there places there in Kogi? I know, I mean, that things are just as bad as it is there in Oyo State.
There is even worse.
Could you touch on that for us?
Yeah,
Good evening.
there's hello. Yeah, there's a place between. It's called between Kogi and Ekiti
Brother
states.
Yemi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me? There is a place between Ekiti and Kogi state. The place actually share a boundary with Kogi. Hello, can you hear me? Hi.
We can hear you.
Hello,
Okay, you can hear me.
can you hear me, Yemi? I think we're having poor connection.
Hello.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yes, I
hear
can
you.
hear you. I can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, I can hear you. Right there.
I can hear you too. I can hear you.
Well, I've got really bad connection here. Hello?
Hello,
Can
can you hear
anyone
me?
hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
I
I
can hear you.
can hear you now. Okay, can I continue now? There is
Hello?
a particular hello. Yeah, I can hear you. So, like as I was saying, if I don't know if you can hear me.
Can anyone?
In there is a Omuo. It is Kogi.
Hello?
Can I go?
Yes, we can hear you.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can
Yeah,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Okay,
Hello.
I can't hear anyone. What's
Okay,
going
if you
on?
can hear me.
Okay, I'm gonna go out
So
and
now
come back in. That might be the reason. I don't know what's going on. Yemi, if you can hear me,
okay.
if you can hear
I
me,
can hear you.
can you just take over? I'm gonna go out and come back in.
Okay, no problem. Yeah. So hello. Yeah. So Omuo is one of the situation where for like years they don't have light.
Yemi, could you please be a bit audible? You're very low.
Okay.
There's
Hello.
something wrong with my.
Yeah, can you hear me now? Am I audible enough now? Okay. So there is
Slightly
this
better.
town
You
between
can go ahead.
okay, there is this town between is actually in Ekiti State, but is share boundary with Kogi. It's called Omu Ekiti. So those who know the location will understand what I'm saying. For the past
Yeah, I actually know the place.
3 years, for the past 3 years now, that place has no light. It's not just like weeks, you know. And this is a place that is on, and though their challenge was this, they were formerly been connected to Kogi State, just as you said the situation you have in as Mr. Tunde explained. So they were formerly connected to Kogi State, which is Abuja Electricity Distributed Company. Then later, because they are in Ekiti State, Ekiti is in Bini Electricity Distribution Company. So there is this issue now affects them. So they when they need to pay NEPA bill, they pay NEPA bill into Ekiti's account, which is in another location, which is in Bini Electricity
Hello?
Company. So this has affected them. For the past 3 years now, they have no light and nobody is doing anything about it. So the situation is so bad. So so at least you are back now. Can you hear us now? Hello. Yeah. So any other experience that so that we share the experience that we had across board.
Hello, please, can the house hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
Yes,
you.
I can hear you.
Oladimeji.
Okay.
Oladimeji, you can go on.
I've also had different experiences like that, and even just statistically, I think most Nigerians are living with such experience because I've lived in so many geographical locations inside Nigeria, and it has always been the same thing, especially if that area is not within the city, as in the main capital of the state, and if it's also close to the boundary of that state. So it's something that is very, very bad, even for those that are paying the PACM bill all the time. It's always like that. Because what I think is that mostly that issue is for those that are not on prepaid plan, because they know that whether they give them light or not, there will always be bills that they are going to serve to them at the end of the month, which they expect them to pay, or they will disconnect them. And most Nigerians, you are see the way they behave, like they always do forget about the suffering of that they've been encountering for long, just because of little enjoyment. Maybe they just bring the light for like 3 days, and then for the next 27 days or 25 days, there won't be anything like electricity supply. And by the time they want to come and disconnect, or you want to share the bills, they will still bring the lights for like 3 days again. So people that they've disconnected their own light, they will be feeling kind of somehow. Whereas the same set of people have been living without light, because it's the same thing that I face even where I schooled. I schooled in Nikole and Oye in Ekiti. I'm staying in Kwara. I've been to Oyo before. I've stayed in Osun. Is the same thing is happening everywhere. And even by the time I check Twitter, people are complaining almost the same thing that I'm saying now. So I just say statistically, it's just like that happening all around Nigeria, especially if it's not in the capital, the state capital, and even some of the state capitals. If it's not if the place is not close to industries, that's the way it will be, or close to schools that are willing to pay huge sum of money to those PHCN. But I think if everybody's on prepaid bill, it will be better, because they know that if they don't supply electricity, there's no way they will get their funds, because it will just be like just like airtime. If you don't call, you don't recharge. So that's just what I'm thinking for now. Thank you.
Hello, can I just come in there?
All right.
Just like Mr. Oladimeji's experience, it's like what he said. It's the same situation everywhere. Just like me, I've stayed in Abuja, I've stayed in Ekiti, in Kaduna, Kwara, and now I'm in Oyo. The situation is generally the same thing. Like he said, if you are not in the state capital, even in the state capital, where I work now, it's a built-up industrial area, and we have our dedicated transformer. We are supplied by a 33 kV step down, which is supposed to be a dedicated line. Dedicated line meaning that even if there's going to be a power cut, shouldn't be more than 1 hour at most. That is the general regulation. But these days, we go like 10 days without power on a 33 injection station. and that's absolutely ridiculous. So it's the same situation every day. The situation is just getting worse day by day. If on a 33 kV you don't get power for 10 days and it's supposed to be supplying an industry, we have a dedicated transformer for us, just our transformer metered. I'm just trying to say that even if it is metered, if there is no supply, there won't be supply. Our transformer is metered, they come to take reading on our transformer and bill us, yet we don't get power. So I just think the situation is very bad. What we need is a good adequate supply, adequate generation, good transmission, and ultimately good generation, distribution and utilization. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tunde. Yeah, thank you, Mr. Tunde. Yeah. Okay. I think Mr. Richard is finding it difficult to join us because of he can't even hear what we're saying. So let's as we still roll on, then any other person who have a different experience, or I think the experience generally from what we have from all perspective are almost the same. The situation is bad, and it's so bad that most there are so many neglects in terms of things that we do in this country. So we just have to look at a situation where it is only when they're about to collect NEPA bill that you see them going around or giving supply. So it's quite bad. So we just have to see how we get the solution. And I believe we have the solution at our hand now. So we just have to listen to a presentation by Brother Richard. So unfortunately, his mic is having issue now. Dr. Moore, are you there? Hello, Dr. Moore. If you are just there, please flash your mic. Let's know. Dr. Moore, are you there? Okay. Any other person has a contribution to make before as we still have issue with Mr. Hope, please, do you have any contribution?
I'm here. It's just my network. Can you hear
Okay,
me?
okay.
Can
Yes,
you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, I can hear you.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. I can
Can
hear
you
you.
hear me?
Yes. It's like the network is somehow bad.
Yeah, I think to dispatch generally, my phone is flashing for network signal too.
Yeah. So Dr. Moore can hear us.
Good
Um,
evening, guys.
yeah,
Good
good
evening.
evening.
Okay, can everyone hear me?
Yeah,
Yes, we
I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
We
Okay.
can hear you.
Like every other person has said, okay, first off, my name is Hope. I live in Port Harcourt.
Okay.
Like everyone has said, the situation is almost 100% identical everywhere you go. If you live in a like in Port Harcourt here,
Hello, hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we can hear. I
Yeah,
can
we
we
can
hear
hear
you.
you
can.
now.
Hello,
Are you hearing us too?
hello. Damn.
Yemi, could you please send him a back channel message so
Okay.
we could know what the issue is?
Okay. Okay.
So, like I was saying,
Yes.
when wherever you go, I have not really traveled. I've been to Lagos. I've been to Akwa Ibom State. I served in Anambra State. I've lived in River State virtually all my life. I've been to. I've gone across the border to Benin Republic. I think when I got there, the experience with the electricity supply there and the way the populace respond to buying their electricity units. as when compared to the way it is here. It's quite something to study. So the situation is identical everywhere. If you live in a town that is far away from Port Harcourt, so like, and there's no industry there, no major hub, then there's a likelihood that you live in blackouts for extended periods. When you go to the parts of the state where you have the oil companies, the multinationals. So you would see that, okay, maybe the company supplies the community electricity, so you might get some
Hello? Hello?
semblance of.
Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, we
Hello?
can hear you. Can you hear
Okay.
me?
Right.
Okay.
Think I'm back. I'm back on now.
Welcome
Um,
back.
thank you. I've been struggling I don't know what happened. Clubhouse just didn't give me the option to reset. So but anyway, please go ahead, and then I will come back. I will come in now when you guys finish.
Okay, nice one. So like I was saying, the situation is the same. But where I stay now, like my mom, the local government my mom is from, Abua Odua local government. It's kind of at the extreme of the states, like a border local government. There's no other local government after them. So right, as we speak, there's no electricity. They used to have, but they've had issues and they've been cut off, and it's been going on for months now. It's intermittent. They might see supply for maybe a day or two in 2 weeks, and that's it. And if you go there, you see the negative effect it has on productivity as far as that area is concerned. You would see the difference. Like there's a very clear disparity between life there and life where I am now. So the effect is so damaging. It kills any drive that you have. But what I understand that works to a certain extent is there's been this like where I stay now. We used to have estimated billing. It used to be estimated billing here, but some months ago they rolled out prepaid meters, and since the prepaid meters were installed, the suppliers improved because apparently if they don't supply, they don't nobody buys, right? If they don't supply, nobody buys. So in a way, even if we know the consumption is hiked, so you buy your unit, and if you're not careful, it runs out so fast. That's another problem. But the supply is kind of improved immediately they rolled out the meters, because if they don't do that, nobody is going to come and say, come and this is your bill, because when it was estimated, they could give you whatever they want to estimate. But now is what you consume that is what you buy that you consume. If you don't buy, you don't consume. And if they don't supply, what you've already bought cannot be consumed. So I'll be really, really interested to hear what Yemi, Mr. Richard has to present. 100,000 megawatts, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
Looks
yeah.
really, really, really interesting. Sounds really, really interesting.
All right.
I yield
Thank you
for
so
now.
much. Yeah, thank you so much. Brother Richard, are you there, please? Brother Richard, are you there? Yeah.
Yes, I'm here. I'm
Okay.
here. Can you
All
hear
right.
me?
Yes, yes.
Right. Excellent. Right. Now, okay. Now that we've got these sorted out, I'm glad to be back here. Now, where are we, guys? What are you guys talking about before I got back?
Yeah, we'll look at different challenges. There are even a couple of places that have more than even a year without light. So it's the experience is so bad. So
What, the
and
whole year?
also not even just a year, just underestimated it.
Wow.
Yeah. You can do the finding anybody who is who know Omo is in Ekiti State, so Omo has that challenge for like 3 years now. They have no light. As we speak, they still have no light. They're only depending on solar generated power supply. So the situation is so bad. So, and generally from the reports all over, is those who are in the city center tends to enjoy more electricity than those, far from the city center, like the capital, and all that. So those are the experiences that we've had so far. And also those who are using a prepaid meter have more supply than those using estimated billing system. So yeah, in summary, those are the things, the submission we've made. Brother Richard,
Yeah,
are you
thank
there?
you very much,
Yeah.
Brother Yemi. Yeah, I mean, I'm even surprised to hear that some cities or towns have been without electricity for that long. Were these caused by the company that's generating electricity in that area, or is it because of, like, say, the transmission, which of course involved substation management? For example, is it because they're having problems with transformers or cables or substation, or is it just got to do with the generating company for that area? What's usually the reason for these kind of problems?
Okay, okay. As for let me for, as about the Omuo that I've just mentioned, their problem is not because of a transformer or a cable, but their problem is because of um, they are in the midst of two. They are border town, So as a result of that, they share boundary with Kogi, and they're actually in Ekiti State. So initially, Kogi State was giving them light. And Kogi State is powered by Abuja Electricity Distribution Company, which is, we have discos across the states. Different state has different discos that supply them. Like Lagos now, we have a electricity distribution company and all that. So all the government do is, once the federal government generates, there's a different company that did that is saddled with the responsibility of the distribution. So now, during the time that Kogi was powering that place, they are having light, but when it comes to payment of bill, because they also use estimated billing, they were paying into Ekiti, and Ekiti is powered by Bini Electricity Distribution Company. So as a result of that, Kogi has to, cut them off because they are giving them supply and they are not paying. So, but the Benin Electricity Distribution Company, they are supposed to give them light. They 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 did not connect them. Maybe the distance, I said they were supposed to run through a different town. So as a result of that, they have no supply, and they have, you know, it has been like that for like 3 years now. So that's the situation.
Hmm. Yeah, that's That's really sad. But I think we need to talk about now really is because we've actually established that there are all sorts of problems, um, which is why people are suffering all over the place. So it's not just a generation problem. It's a combination of generation, transmission, and distribution. Now, that means that in order for us to be able to generate 100,000 mega of electricity, um, we would need to deal with every aspect of electricity supply, which involves the generation, um, the transmission, and also the distribution. Now, the most important thing, of course, in being able to build all of these up will be the availability of the natural resources that will be needed in order to be able to provide all of the equipment that will be needed to help, firstly, with the generation of electricity. Now, I think it's not, it's a common knowledge that for any country, right, to become industrialized, right, one basic thing is vital for that to happen. And those basic elements are iron ore, metal of all sorts. Now, of course, there are different kind of metals. Basically, some are conductive, some are not conductive, which is one of the easiest thing to distinguish between their properties, metal properties. Now, the most two important metals when it comes to industrializing and construction and all sorts of things are, of course, steel and aluminium. Now, we're so fortunate in Nigeria that we have both of these natural resources um, that we need in order to be able to industrialize and build a country, of course, that can supply its citizens adequate electricity, as well as build wealth through developing its various industries. So we're very fortunate about that. But the only problem is the natural resources that we have. We're talking about metals now, just to focus on metals because that's really the most important metals that we will need, right? Um, both of them can be explored in Nigeria. They can be extracted. And if we have the right technology, we will be able to process them into making them steel and aluminium. Now, what's the present situation with those two metals, those two important metals, vital metals? Now, in Nigeria, we have like out of 36 states that we have, well, if we said okay, and um, 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 the FCT, right? Now, I'll quickly run down. If we look at the northern part of Nigeria, itself. You have you have states like Bauchi that has iron ore. Adamawa, they've got bauxite there. Bauxite is what we need in order to be able to make aluminium. And iron ore is what we need to be able to make steel and hard metals, soft metal, different sorts. So in Bauchi we have iron, in Adama we have bauxite, in Kwara we have iron, we have iron in Benue State as well. And of course, in Kogi, we have it in abundance. Kogi is the home of our iron ore. So we have iron. In the western, in the southern parts of the country, we have bauxite in Ondo. We have bauxite in Ekiti. We've got bauxite in um, yeah, I think those are the few countries where we have bauxite. Of course, the information that I have now is not exhausted. I'm sure that some of us probably have a more updated information about the states that have the metal natural resources in them. Um, but we have lead, we have copper, we have zinc, we have all of the metals that, well, not all of them, the most important one we have. So that means that we're not suffering from lack of natural resources that we need in order to be able to manufacture metals like steel and bauxite. So we've got them. That's not the problem. So my question is, from the information that I've just given out now about the states that have the metal natural resources that we're going to be needing, can anyone tell me if there are recent findings or something that I mixed out, that I missed out in the states that can that have the natural resources of iron ore? Yemi, is there do you have any update on that, or could you add to um the states and the natural resources that they have available? Um, could you help us on that? Is Yemi there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Do you have any update as to whether there are other metals in, say, well, in the northern parts of the country, other than Bauchi, Adamawa, Benue, well, Kogi as well, and Kano? Does Kano have iron? Because I only have Kano down for copper and zinc. So those kind of things. Um, any addition to that?
Right now, let me see if I can get hold of. There was some documents I have. If I can get hold of it, then I'll feed you back. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Anyone else who has any information for us that could shed more light on whether there are other states that are that have metal natural resources other than the ones that I've talked about just now? Okay. So if there are no addition, I think can safely said, okay, that's what we have now. And right from the information that I have, we have adequate iron ore and bauxite to help us uh, produce those two vital metals, which is steel and aluminium. So if we have the resources, then we can start talking about exploring them, extracting them, and then um, transforming them into solid states, which will be, of course, bringing steel and bauxite to life. Of course, it also include all the metals. I mean, like copper, zinc, manganese, uh, uh, um, 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 gold, and all sorts of metals that we have in all the states. Now, so now I have a feeling that, of course, there are still other states that have those natural resources that we've not been able to identify at this moment. Because if I look at the history of our country and I go back to look at how they've been exploring for metal natural resources, they've embarked on only two processes of trying to explore those natural resources. And there are about six different types of exploration that can be used in exploring metals, especially ores and bauxite. So you get a feeling like we're not really exploiting our exploration uh, um, uh, endeavor to find out what we actually have. So this is one aspect of our operation that our party, of course, is going to work really hard on, because we will be bent on finding out as many natural resources that we have, so we can put them to use. So that means that we will have to manufacture um, explore exploration machines and tools and equipment that are used in exploring our natural resources, and then so when we identify them we can put them to use. Now, the problem that we face with exploration is because the government of Nigeria, uh, for a very very long time, right, and we're talking over 45 years, that our government's been working on trying to explore natural resources. Um, but up till now, we still have not been able to do that. So that means that all of the steel, right, and aluminium that we're using in our country are being imported. Now, steel wise, regarding steel, right now, I believe the only operation we have now is actually a rolling mill where we basically buy steel from abroad and then bring them to Nigeria and then roll them out. We use combination of cold and hot mill rolls to do these. So we have the natural resources, we're exploring them, but not to the full advantage. And we're kind of processing them, but not in the best way that will be really advantageous to us. So, whichever way you look at it, we're not benefiting from it. Now, um, the one state in Nigeria that has iron ore in abundance, of course, is Ajaokuta. And our government, from the longest of time, I've been trying very hard, in a way, to try and make something out of it. Now, they've been doing this as far back as 1979, when the government of our country actually started the Ajaokuta Steel Company Limited. They just basically call it Ajaokuta Steel Mill. Over 40 years ago, this project started. But unfortunately, up till now, this very day, Ajaokuta steel industry is not producing steel. Now, this is really sad, because for so long, different government have been engaged in spending money to bring Ajaokuta, back on, and now all in all, they spent over 10 billion, right? On trying to revitalize Ajaokuta, and up till now, the situation is still the same. No production, nothing is coming out of Ajaokuta, and still the government has got overhead cost, right, as well as labor cost, because I believe that there are people who are still working in that company despite the fact that nothing is being produced. So we're basically paying these people, but nothing is coming out of that company. No, so Ajaokuta has been the one place that's just costing us money, but it's not bringing us any money. So it's not only that, they have people also employed, right, in places where the iron ore are actually explored, where they find where the deposits are. These places are like Itape, right, of course in Kogi, Ajabanoko, Oshoko. These places, people are still being employed, right, even though they're not pulling out any iron ore. So it's just unbelievable that any government would do that sort of a thing, just throwing away money when we can do a lot with it, and we're not doing anything with it. There's a lot to say and to talk about Ajaokuta Steel Complex, because of its importance in us being able to produce steel and iron. So it's the basic steel. We will be touching on the situation with Ajaokuta, and also the different operations where our country, where the government is trying to manufacture steel, and to look at what are the problems that the country is facing. Why are we still here after over 40 years when the company was started, and still nothing is happening to this very moment? We will look at what the problems are, and then look at how we're going to solve it. Because when that is solved, that means that we have a way forward, we have a route, right, towards being able to manufacture and produce everything that we need in the country, because we've got the most important, vital material that we need still. So to this end, I would have a member of our party here, Brother Yemi Audu. Now, Brother Yemi Audu is a man who's put so much into seeing that Ajaokuta turns a leaf. That we just don't leave it there without making the best of it. For several years, he's done everything he could. He's tried to get all the people involved in his states, including, of course, the politicians, different leaders in all sorts of industries and also social life. He has been trying to coordinate that people come together and puts pressure on the government so something can happen after so long in Ajaokuta. Of course, you can only appreciate his efforts and also his determinations and unresolvedness to help his people. Now, he has got so much to talk about. Uh, so, I would like to ask Brother Yemialdi to try to explain to us, just try and give us a picture of what's going on in Ajaokuta steel complex. Why is it that up till now it's been impossible for successive government to do something about it? To let us know what's the present situation of Ajaokuta involving all of the equipment, the machines, the tools that are there, and what is estimate of what, yeah, the technical audit uh, of that complex will be in his opinion, given that the government is claiming that in 2018, um, about 85% uh, of the complex is ready to go to work. I mean, like just ready, you know. I mean, of course, we know a few years back. I mean, when there was a time when Jakarta was meant to have been like 98% finished, you know. But 20 years after that, we're going back to 85, you know. But I'm hoping that Brother Yemi will be able to let us see what the present situation is and what's his estimation of what the technical audit should have been saying as opposed to 85%. So please help us out, Brother Yemi, um, so we can have an idea where we're at heart and how we will be moving forward. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Richard. Uh, you see, let me just quickly give us some understanding why is even better necessary in terms of electricity generation. Let's quickly look at country like China, India, and even South Africa. You know, if you look at those countries, you know they produce liquid steel. So if you are not producing liquid steel, you can't be called an industrial nation. So electricity generation is basically most, apart from the turbine and few the solar and few other ones, is usually we make use of turbine, and those turbine are built solely from two basic metals, which he has hammered on earlier, which is steel and aluminium. You see, so in order to be able to do all those things, you should be able to, have your spare part made in your country. Because if you keep on importing spare parts, there is no way that we can move forward. Because is Nigeria presently, we look at, there are situations where we hear we have a made in Nigerian car, made in Nigerian this. But actually, it should be an assembling plant. Because when you can produce liquid steel, then you can be producer of any vehicle or any component like that. You know, you see, many of the companies, or as at 20 before independence, Nigeria has a very good vision. Because even the world were even afraid in looking at the way Nigeria is going to lead Africa out of poverty, advance so many things. But unfortunately, all those dreams were cut short. They only lasted till 1966. After 1966, all our dream again, just go down the drain. Because if you could remember from the history, we know that Ajaokuta, the plan to, industrialize Nigeria was what, lead to what the present, what we call presently as Ajaokuta Steel Company. Because then, the only way you can have an industrialized nation, you have to have steel. So, in a bid for that, our people, our founding fathers, some people like late Tafawa Balewa, late Nnamdi Azikiwe, and a couple of others, thought of a brilliant idea of establishing a steel company, But unfortunately, till today, we still have it as a dream 40 years ago. So it's quite, though we can still make it happen, but presently, if we assess the situation of Ajaokuta as at present, after different legal battle, we have it that is not going to be, what we have is that as at the time Russians were leaving Ajaokuta, we have it at 98% completion. That is as far back as 1994. We have Ajaokuta still as at 98% completion. And what percentage, the remaining 2%, is supposed to be the infrastructural aspect of the steel complex. Like linking Delta, linking the railway to link all the, getting the materials and all that. And, coupled with the politics that has always been, affecting the completion of that project. And we keep on saying that, during even, if we look back, during the at 19th, you see 80s, even up till 80s, you see that Naira was competing favorably with dollar, and which had made it that the cost of even completing that project has increased more than what was planned earlier. And we see people like country like South Africa, Egypt has really come up stage. In 2016, South Africa was ranked 22nd in the list of countries on steel production, while Egypt was ranked 27th um, among the country of steel. But Nigeria, that we almost or every day shout that we are the giant of Africa, couldn't even make the list. There is nothing more than the fact that we're not producing liquid steel. So you see, you can depend solely on importation, and can we can achieve industrialization by depending on importation. So we have to start producing something. And to solve this problem of electricity, one of it is be able to. We talk about the major aspect of electricity had to do with generation, transmission, and distribution. So, as at now, we also have one challenge there in Ajaokuta, which is the level of corruption. People that were supposed to manage the state of affairs in Ajaokuta, they are not managing it the way it should be. So most of those things that were left in 1994 by the Russian, some of them has deteriorated, some of them has corroded. So we have, as at today, we can have up to, I think the last audits tempt it to be done by Nigerian to be is a 98, 96,
98. Uh,
90.
well, the last audit was in 2018.
Yes. So, but basically, what we have now, based on my own, personal access, not, physical assessment and all that, I could say we have nothing more than 80%, 80 to 85%. That's by my own assessment. Yeah. So that's that bad, you know. So we just have a lot way to go if we actually want to industrialize this country. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Yemi.
Yeah.
Right. Can you inform us about what do you think, in your opinion, are the actual problem that the government has in completing Ajaokuta from the time that the last, say for example, the last audit was done in 2018? You hear a lot about, the major problem is because the Russians who are building the site, they did not finish off the probably the ignition mechanism for the coke oven, which is basically where the ore is melted. Now, in the past, they've talked about, the Russians did not finish it off because the government of Nigeria did not pay them the agreed amount. So because of that, they just left it as it was. Of course, since then, successive government have given the contract to finish it off to different companies, of which of course include, one time it was given to a company that was owned by the son of President Olusegun Obasanjo then. He made a proper mess of it, and then they walked away. So their statement, their reason then was, yeah, the Russians, they did not finish up that mechanism, and since then we've not been able to make that mechanism work. um, and then you hear the story about, yeah, it was because the rails, the rails are not finished off, and the rails are needed um, to carry, uh, bring in raw materials like coke and um, 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 limestone that are needed in combination with oil to make steel. Um, so the issue has been in between, yeah, the coke oven is not operational, or the rails are not ready and they can't bring in the raw materials. Now, lately we have dug into that, and we have kind of been informed that, okay, the rails are finished. So the problem is no longer being unable to bring in the needed raw materials, but the problem is just now all about the tools, machines, and equipment that are left by the Russians. A lot of them have disappeared. A lot of them are just not operational anymore, probably beyond repairs. And of course, there are structural problems with the buildings and things like that. What do you think is the situation now, in your opinion? You've been in the complex a couple of years back. So, from what you're hearing, where do you think the real problem lies now with the remaining 15%, if we take their estimation to work with? What exactly do you think where do you think the problem lies, brother Yemen?
All right. Yeah, thank you so much, sir. You see, um, like what the reason why I had to estimate it as at 85% is because looking back to the time that was 2003 to date, when the company was first is a concession agreement they had with one of these companies by the then president Olusegun Obasanjo. So there had been a situation where some of the vital components of this company were being lifted out. You know, some they give there was an excuse of, okay, we're going to repair some of those things and all that. Like, for instance, there was a report that the coke oven is no longer functioning. The batteries, this coke oven, there are batteries there. It's not like the real battery is to power those coke oven that were bad. Presently they are bad. And if you also look at the blast furnace itself, the underground, the blast furnace as you see it, there are still some that is quite buried underground. So, and they are built in such a way that they are close to the river. you know as a result of flood and all that, some of those equipment are by now submerged in the river. And also the other, those aspects are very important aspects if the steel, if we must produce steel, because you need to have a pig iron in in molten state. So before we can said, yeah. So as a result of that, we have a situation where most of those things presently are in bad shape. Now we have the 2%, which were supposed to be the reason why uh, the the Russian were unable to complete this. The part where part of it is, Ajaokuta was also designed in such a way that there should be an air, port, a seaport and an airport, close by, because these are area is just, if I will say, it will be exactly like Texas in US. If you see how big Texas is, those are the 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 idea of Ajaokuta when it was conceived as back then. So then, if you go back again, there are some of the schools that was there. Those were supposed to be technical. We call it a methodological training center. That school was also established in order to train staff that would be working, like in-house training for those staffs that will be working in the plant. So most of presently, I think we have a situation where most of those things has also been, corner out, and you know the situation there have the corruption, in terms of leadership. So most of the leader that have that have been appointed as sole administrator to the plant has not actually, do us good in representing the interest of the country. Rather, they do most time represent their selfish interest. So basically, if we can look at those parts, the blast furnace itself, the stockyard, some of those areas have also, as we speak, some of them has been sold out to private company. Like there are ceramic company that is now, very close to Ajaokuta. Some of those things were not originally in the master plan of Ajaokuta. So there are a lot of things that have
Well,
actually
brother,
changed. Yeah.
do you
Yes.
mean part of the complex or some part outside of the Ajaokuta complex itself, or you're talking about part of the complex that's been sold out now already, concessioned out?
No, the Ajaokuta as it is, there are still some, legal tussle about the concession agreement that were entered
Yeah, with the
into by
Russians, I know about
yeah.
the Russians. That they're claiming that yeah, they have a certain percentage, and the Russians are saying something different. Is this what you're talking about, or something?
No, no, I'm actually talking about the last company, which I think it was called Global Infrastructural Nigeria Limited. Those people were the one that is in charge of both Ajaokuta and Neomco, that is the National Iron Ore Mining Company in Takwe. You understand? So those are the people I'm talking about. Those are the company I'm talking about. Those are the recent company. So there's still they though the government too has not paid good, has shown good reason to which they want to develop that project. Yes. Yeah.
Mm. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's pretty clear. Yeah. So the situation, from what I can understand from you now, is um it's not just about machines and equipment and tools. There are also the structural buildings there that needs repair, and a whole lot of other things. Okay, I mean, it's standard. I can't imagine that Nigeria will be in a situation where everything is crystal clear, everything is cut out very nicely. So there will be complications about what kind of contract or what kind of agreement was made. So that's going to be a standard thing to deal with. That comes with the territory. It's the government of Nigeria. So. So it's going to be contract issue, agreement issue, equipment issue, and then physical structural issues regarding the
Yes.
complex itself. So we have lots of problems to deal with. But like any other thing, when there's a will, there will be a way. Especially when there are tools that are needed to fight the battle. If they're present, that means that we have a better chance of making this thing work out. Now, if we, our plan or expectation is that the technical issues, right, which of course involves machines, whether they're there or not, they're not there, or whether they've been rented out or stolen or whatever, Now, and equipment issues and tools issues, these are things that we can solve out because we have the knowledge now to manufacture and produce the machines and the equipment that will be needed to complete those incompleted technical structures or machines or tools, and also to complete the buildings and the whole complex, bring it to normal usage. We have the knowledge to do that now, so that means that we will be able to complete Ajaokuta and then put it to work, let it start casting irons and turning them into steel like he is supposed to be doing. So that's where we need to be. Now, initially, what would have been the best way to go about these, if we are not in the equation, right? I mean, Qatar party will be basically to let the government allow the Russians to finish it off. It's their baby. They built it. They brought it up to that level. Now, the government can just pay them off, go and complete what you started. No. But if
Yeah.
the amount of money that the Russians is asking for, or the amount of money that our government says that the Russians are asking for, is very concerning. Now, from my understanding, what I heard is our government is asking for $100 million to get the Russians to come again and do another technical audit, right, before they can then go on to finish off where they left off. That's a lot of money. That's an unnecessary use of our resources. No. Qatar Party has the knowledge to deal with that when we are in administration to ensure that we can do a technical audit that will ensure us to have a real good idea of what needs to be done. And once we can see that, now we have to respect that the Russians built it, so we don't know what they built. We have the knowledge for fundamentals about how that sort of structure should work, where metals are melted down into steel. Now, they use, at the moment, I believe they use two melting system, which is, of course, the basic blast furnace, which has to do with using coke, which is, of course, charcoal, in combination with limestone, uh, 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 to make to burn and melt down ore and convert it to steel. They also use induction system, which is like induction furnace, which uses mostly electricity.
Yeah. So
So these are
we have
the
those two in Nigeria.
yeah that's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what they have in Ajaokuta there. So I'm just trying to emphasize on the fact that we know what's there and we know that we can deal with that problem. Because those two technologies are not beyond us. Most importantly, um, these things were built over 40 years ago. And yeah, I would say it again. I haven't seen it, so I don't know what those technicians have built there, what the ignition system's like, but I have a real good understanding of what modern ignition systems are like and how to build it. So if we find ourselves in a situation where what the Russians have built is not something that we can work on as quickly as possible, I do not expect to be in a situation where it will be impossible. Because again, like I said, it's an old technology. So it should, by right, not be beyond us. Now, we will be in a situation where we'll be able to deal with that problem and also expand the operation. We would need that in order to be able to industrialize Nigeria. So we believe that if we're in administration, we will be in a situation where we will be able to solve all of those problems out and ensure that those two ignition systems or melting system work. And then we will go on to expand and build a few more. Well, when I say a few more than two. Later on, we will be talking about how many we will expect to have in states that are actually in possession of the ore, the ore that were needed. So we'll give you an idea about how many of those furnaces of different sorts that we will be making. Now, so once we have an idea of what we can do with Ajaokuta, then we know that, okay, we're bringing out steel. And then we're able to roll the steels and process them further, right? Because Ajaokuta, of course, basically have only a few casting structure they can cast to triangles and angles and squares and also bowls. But we need to expand on that, cast a few more um, technical structure, and then use the mills, the rolling mills, to finish them off so that they can be, of course, taken out into production. So that's where I suspect, or I hope that we will be, in order to complete Ajaokuta, um, um, and then put it into operation. Now, if we just take things forward a little bit, right, to talk about what exactly are we then gonna be doing that will help us in the generation, uh, and also um, generation transformation, and also the distribution of electricity. Now, we are going to embark on different, a real good mix of energy. At the moment, what we're doing in Nigeria is basically we have two sorts of power process or power sources. We use the thermal one, which is basically using coal and gas and oil, those kind of things. And of course, we have the hydro power, which is derived from running water uh, from different sources. Now, the current estimation of our total generation of electricity, which I mentioned earlier on, is according to the last number given out by the government, is supposed to be 13,000 megawatts. I very much doubt that. I don't believe it. And that's because I've got different calculations from different sources that points out to something like 8. There are another one that points to like 9. But it's only the federal government of Nigeria that gave out as many as 13,000 megawatts. Now, if we assume that that figure is correct, right, what we have now is about 86% of that total of 13,000 are thermal. So that means we use gas, oil, and coal in that production. And the remaining 14% is from hydro, from our dams, various dams in Nigeria. Now, we wouldn't expect us to do much with the dam. The only opportunity that we have in increasing the dam quickly, as the situation is now, is to build the Mambila Dam. Mambila Dam on its own, we can generate about at least 1,000 megawatts from it, with only one phase of it developed. It can't produce more, but I'm just trying to be very modest with the estimation. So there wouldn't be much that we can do with hydroelectricity, but there's a lot that we can do with thermal, which is why we would need to build a lot more or a few more places like Ajaokuta, still complex. Now, if we pulling out a big chunk of our steel from Ajaokuta, we still have a few other states that have iron ore where we can build steel plant like Ajaokuta. But we're not just building those few states. Our concentration will be more on building burners, right, that are induction system. They use more electricity and a lot less oil or gas. Now, so if we can increase our induction system really high and then marginally increase the thermal ones, then we will be in a position to be able to produce at least 50,000 watts, that's 50,000 megawatts of electricity. How are we going to do it? It's basically wrapping our plans round the most important aspect of operation in regards to moving the steel, right, to places where they can be converted into finished products, which we will need a lot, of course, for big structural work like building uh, steel complexes and, of course, aluminium complexes that we're going to talk about later on. So there are a whole bunch of things that will need to be put into consideration, which of course include transportation and the services of spare parts when those structures are built. So if we can do a reasonable increase in thermal, right, which is a reasonable high percentage of uh, 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 um, blast furnace, and then we build a lot more of induction furnace, because that will help us to develop each state, so we don't have to travel or transport those big metals right through the country when our road system is not saying much at the moment. Now, the one real advantage of induction system is they can be built in small sizes. Of course, that means that they will be burning less amount of iron ore for conversion compared to blast furnace, but we can build a lot more of those, right, to help create employment in each stage, right? So that will help in that way, because those induction furnaces are smaller, and that means that we can have a lot more of them built in strategic places that are needed. Now, so that's really the advantage of that. So the other, if we can do that, so we can build thermal, have an increase of almost 50%, which will be something like 50,000 megawatts. And then we will go on building wind turbines. To build wind turbines. When we're in a situation where we have steel and we have aluminium that we're actually producing now, it will give us a real good chance to build lots of turbines. We estimate that we can build something like 30,000 turbines, well, in 2 years. Right? And then, of course, we have the solar power, we believe that the total percentage will come into something like 16% of the total amount of energy that can be generated. So we're talking about something like 16,000 megawatts of solar power. Of course, we would not be able to produce every component of the solar power systems, uh, but we can produce a lot of the components that are needed. And the components that we can't do at the moment, we'll import them. But the cost of importing raw materials then wouldn't be anything close to actually importing the whole finished product. So those are the four systems of electricity that we believe that can be generated when we deploy the combination of basic general electricity generation in combination with new modern system of electricity generations. So I think we've done like 2 hours now on these.
Yeah.
So we will could bring this to an end and then continue tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Like we have mentioned earlier on, this is expected to roll on for a few days, so we will be able to cover every aspect of electricity generation,
Yeah.
transmission, as well as distribution. So today we've talked on where we are at the moment, what the sort of information that we have, and also what our problems are. But the government of Nigeria's problems in being able to convert Ajaokuta Steel Company into an operation. So tomorrow we will go on further to talk about what we expect each state to have as electricity generation, transmission, and distribution. That we give them or give us an idea of the kind of economic activities that we will be expecting in those states, why our estimation is something like that, and also eventually then we will talk about financing all of those projects. So to round up, um, anyone have a comment to make before we put an end to these and then continue tomorrow?